Hello, and let us be the first to welcome you into 2023 on Wade into Wealth. Thanks for being with us. I'm Chuck Wade. My brother Ethan is here with us. We are now, I think this is our third year of doing this that we're entering into. Huzzah.
Every week.
Huzzah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. But I will tell you
And
something that I have enjoyed about this, and this is 100% genuine, I'm not being a smart aleck, is I have been forced to learn a lot. In the research that goes into putting these together, I have learned a lot, and I have enjoyed that. I've enjoyed that process of like, kind of going in a deep dive with something when you're like, I didn't know about this, and now I am researching it, and I've learned about it, and that is something I've really enjoyed.
Well, and this podcast is no different. I thought about that as I was reading the rundown. I didn't realize that was part of this package. So.
Part of what we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm not kidding. So it kind of echoes your sentiment of, it forces you to learn, forces you to pay a little bit more attention to current events, which, sometimes can be tough because life gets in the way, but it's nice to do. And how lucky are we that we get to do it with our respective brother?
Indubitably.
Yep.
And that third brother who we don't speak of, we leave him out.
Sure.
It doesn't exist. That's a joke.
Doesn't exist, yep.
We think.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Mom and Dad have some explaining to do.
That's right, yeah.
But I think
we'll find out if they watch this one.
I think we're in the clear. No, what we're going to get is a text message. Charles, there's no other siblings.
If you were sorry, you wouldn't have said it.
Right, exactly, exactly. All right, so on to something that would be a better use of your time. A lot of new changes coming down the pipeline. Recently signed into law by President Biden. The new spending law that went into effect. A lot of changes for people either in retirement, approaching retirement, young savers, businesses offering 401ks and retirement plans. And something that I thought was a really good one is for someone who may not make a ton of money, an opportunity to set some money aside in your retirement plan that if you needed it for emergency funds could be accessed without tax or penalty. So there's a lot on the plate to talk about.
Yeah, there is. And it's not, rule changes, but just opening up more options for people, which I think, one thing that we talk about as folks are getting closer and closer to retirement is just making sure that you have multiple sets of options.
Yeah.
Multiple options for which you can draw money, multiple options that have different tax implications for them, and just giving yourself flexibility because we can't plan for everything in life. Right. And the more options that you give yourself, the better prepared you will be to handle an unforeseen event.
Right. Yeah. So let's start. We'll kind of start top down, something that would impact folks that are oldest first, and that would be the new age at which you're required to begin required minimum distributions, commonly known as RMDs, from your IRAs.
And we'll refer to them as RMDs for the rest of the podcast to save some breath.
It's just easier that way. So right now, the law is that in the year in which you turn 72, you are required to begin taking a distribution from your IRA. And
that's only from a couple years ago. It used to be the year in which you turn 70 and a half.
Right.
Sometimes I'll have clients say, well, it's when I turn 70 and a half. Well, no, a couple years ago, they moved it back from 70 and a half to the year in which you turn 72. And now starting in 2023, they're going to push it back another year to the year in which you turn 73.
Right. And so it's 73 if you are turning that age in 2023. And then in 2033.
Yeah, so 10 years from
10 years from now, the age is going to 75. So that's a big change. And I think what they're wanting to allow people to do is an opportunity to keep money in their accounts longer, to weather the storms, the ups and downs of market volatility.
I think it's that. I think it's also people are living, statistically, they know people are living longer. And pushing back that age a little bit there. Because let's face it, what's the point of RMDs? For the IRS to get some tax money.
Yes.
That's the whole premise for when they're getting it. With an IRA, the IRS is going to get their money one of two ways. They're either going to get it on the way in or on the way out.
Yep.
And with your traditional 401k, traditional IRA, you got a tax deduction when that money went into the account, meaning you didn't pay tax on it then.
Right.
So when you take money out, you have to start paying tax on it. And so the required minimum distribution is set up so that you are forced to start taking some money out so that the IRS can tax you on that.
Yep. And that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So another change. So as it stands now, if you don't take your RMD, there is a pretty big penalty.
50% of
with
the
it.
amount that was to have been
Right.
withdrawn. Yeah.
So if you had to take $40,000 out of your IRA and you neglect to do that, technically there is a penalty of $20,000.
This, I think, is the most interesting part. As pointed out by our chairman, George Conboy,
Yeah.
to us, I think it is one of the, little nuances of this type of bill or package that has been passed.
Yeah.
But something that is very much a highlight to they're going to start enforcing these
Sure.
a little bit more. Because, frankly, we've had clients who have missed RMDs, whether they were our client at the time or they weren't our client. We've had it happen, and it's always been kind of under the guise of as soon as you realize that it happened, fix it, take the money out, pay the tax on it, and the IRS is pretty much good with that.
Right.
I can only speak from my experience. I've never had a client get penalized 50%.
No.
As long as they took the money out and filed the proper form on their tax return.
No, I haven't either.
Right.
I have not seen that. And I think what the thought is that it's likely not happening.
I mean, it's such a huge
lot.
penalty.
Right.
That they're just, it's kind of there of you have to take the money out, and if you don't, there's this, but then they don't really enforce it as long as you correct
Well,
the
and it's
error.
one of those things that just, based on the IRS, it is a fairly antiquated organization and system. There's just, they can't police everything. The tax code's challenging. There's a lot that they're looking for. And so that is changing.
It's like the threat of, you're going on family vacation, you're on the road trip, that if the kids don't start behaving in the back, that you're going to turn this car around.
Right.
You're not going to go on vacation.
Right. You're not turning the car around.
Right. They're
but
not penalizing
you're hoping
you.
that they see
with
that
the threat that they'll honor it and pay more attention to
right.
it.
And so what is changing is that penalty is actually being reduced to 25% in 2023. And if you miss a distribution, but you take action to correct it, which is as soon as you notice it, you take the distribution and file the amended tax return in a timely fashion, they say, well, we'll reduce it to 10%.
Right.
What it seems is though
they're going to start enforcing
they may
it.
actually start enforcing it.
Right, because it's not such a wild and crazy penalty. It's enough to where you pay attention, and oh, by the way, when you correct it, we'll reduce it.
Right.
But we're not going to give you this free ride anymore like they've been. We're going to charge you a 10% penalty on it.
Yeah.
Which, you give people RMDs, $20,000, $30,000.
Right.
That's even a reduced down to 10%. That's $2,000 to $3,000 that they're picking up there as a means to be able to bring in more money.
Well, and think about it. If you even take, I don't know what the number is, but say that 3% of people who are required to take a distribution don't do it. Yep. What is that number? It's probably several $1 million.
Oh, I'm sure.
That
yeah.
A 10% penalty of, it's not an insignificant number. So those are things to be aware of if you are over 70 or approaching the age at which you begin taking a distribution. What if you're contributing to a 401k? This is something that I really like, is that they are indexing the catch-up contributions for people who are over the age of 50 to say, look, as you are getting closer to retirement, we're going to let you save even a little more into a 401k account.
Yeah, which I think is good. If you're between 60 and 63, you'll be able to add an extra $10,000 into your employer 401k plan. Between 50 and 60, $7,500. And it's something where the interesting part about that, the final part of it is that, though, if you make more than $145,000, your catch-up contributions have to go into a Roth 401k.
I think it's great.
And they can't be pre-tax. I mean, part of it is they're not going to allow you to put all of this tax-deferred money into the account. But yes, again, this is in a couple minutes ago, we talked about having more options.
Yep.
When it comes time to retire, not having all of your money in just one type of an account that every time you take it out, you're going to get dinged with income taxes off of it.
Yeah.
And so having money in a Roth IRA, 401k, Roth IRA, interchangeable terms, basically, having money in a traditional 401k and IRA, having an investment account, the more different types of accounts that you have, they all have their pros and cons when it comes to taxation. Mm-hmm. And the more options you have, the better you're able to weather unforeseen storms.
Yeah. And I like the idea that they're just making you put it into a Roth. The Roth 401k is something that is long overdue to be catching up for more people to have access to.
Right.
The reality is, if your income is more than $145,000, you may start to be getting phased out at some point from contributing to a Roth IRA. So the fact that you're having to put it into a Roth 401k, well, yeah, you lose the deduction up front on your taxes, but there is likely significant benefit if you're able to leave that money in there for a while
Yeah.
and let it grow on itself and not have to pay any taxes on it. So,
But I also like the change that now employers can, if they choose,
yes.
can put your matching contribution in the Roth
Yes.
401k for you.
Yep.
Historically, employers, if you max out your Roth 401k, your employer match still goes into the traditional 401k route. Now, what we don't know is we don't know how many employers will be willing to do that
Right.
for tax purposes, but it's a nice option and could be a competitive advantage for some employers as they're looking to retain or bring on new employees in a challenging
And
job market.
I will raise it from could be to I think it is.
Yep.
It's one of those benefits that you can give to say, look, to an employee, we are going to give you this benefit. We are going to forego the benefit of us being able to take a deduction on that money that we're contributing because we know this is likely going to benefit you in the long run. And as an employee, that is not money that's taxable to you.
Right.
That you have to, it's not like, well, your Roth 401k, you pay taxes and then it goes in. You're not having to pay taxes on this money, but you are reaping the full benefit of that down the road. So I would encourage employers, if possible, consider it. I think it's a really significant employee benefit that you can provide.
I agree.
Now, employers offering new 401k plans will be required to auto-enroll employees at a minimum contribution of 3%, not to exceed 10%. I think this is great as well. Auto-enrollment, forcing people to get started.
They also, I mean, I would imagine that the folks writing the bill also know that when you auto-enroll somebody, in order for them to stop, now they have to do work. And when they have to do work, you know, they'll mean to do it, and then life will get in the way. And in this case, that happening is a benefit to the employee.
Yes.
As opposed to having to sign up means you have to do work. Life gets in the way. You forget about it. You never start.
Right. Yep. Agreed. I think and there is a lot of data showing how the contribution rates when auto enrollments that continue significantly better than people who are just forced to do it on their own. So there's a big benefit there as well. There are also provisions that will allow for a Roth type account within a 401k that could be accessed for emergencies. You'd be able to put up to $2,500 a year into one of these accounts. Your first 4 withdrawals during the year would be tax and penalty free. This is something that is not focused at people at high earners or highly compensated employees. This is focused more on someone who is not maybe making a ton of money, may not have a lot of money in their savings or be able to put money into their savings account, and instead might have to be forced to tap through a loan or some form of hardship their retirement accounts, but then face penalties and taxes.
I will say I think that's the intention of the bill, which is good and right. I also think that benefits a lot of high earners because you can, again, I can only speak for myself, but I've seen a lot of high earners who don't carry the amount in savings in the bank to be able to weather an emergency properly. And having just that, again, it's another option. Whether you're a high earner or you're not, having the ability, this allows you to not have to make a choice between emergency savings or retirement savings. It allows you to kind of blend the two of those together to save for retirement, but still have the option that if something came up that you weren't prepared for, you could still take some of that money out. So I think it's, regardless of your situation, still a good benefit to have that extra added flexibility.
Yeah, and I think the part of it, too, is that it just, again, it makes it easier, the access, as you noted. But this is also you've seen it, where someone comes in that they're like, this is all I had to drain it, and then I never started putting the money back in again.
Yep.
I think it reduces some of that resistance to people who are of lesser means and looking to try to save, but maybe just can't because life doesn't afford them that opportunity. So a lot of changes.
Times are changing.
A lot of changes. They are. I think we end with, we did not cover everything that is in this bill. It's called Secure 2.0. It's based on the laws, or off of the laws that changed a couple years ago. That was the first Secure Act, part of the spending bill. If you have questions, or hey, how am I impacted by the new RMD ages? Or how is my 401k contributions impacted? reach out, whether that's to us, someone that you trust, that you work with. There's a lot there, but it's very easy and simple to sit down and say, all right, well, here's how you might be impacted by this and things to consider.
How can they reach out to us?
Well, there is email, cwade or ewade at brightonsecurities.com.
Yep.
Phone numbers, 585-340-2203. That's for me.
585-340-2227.
Okay.
That's for me.
You.
Yeah. Easy.
And you can also find us on social media at Wade Into Wealth. We're there on Facebook, Instagram,
we
Twitter.
have a team page on the Brighton Securities website
it's
where
all
you
there.
can submit contact information there.
It's all there.
If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
All right. Well, and now that we're into this new year, all the best. Thanks for being with us. And we look forward to continuing this journey through our third year of Wade Into Wealth.